A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Evening Review. My name is Kevin Jabela, your host. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Professor Mesias Alfeus, who is an academic at the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. And he is here. We invited him here to share with us that very important journey that he has taken. He will tell us what he does at the university, what kind of academic journey he took, and what Namibia can tap from that tank of wisdom. Thank you very much, Professor. I'm amazed actually because I've known you for a long time, and for some reason, I didn't realize that you were a professor already. Congratulations.
No, thank you. Thank you, Toivo, for having me. And it's such a wonderful privilege for me to be at the platform and to discuss with you about what I do at the Stellenbosch University and also to catch up with you after a very long time.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. So you are originally from Oshana region, and you studied, you went to Moshpandega High School?
Moshpandega High School.
Which year did you finish Moshpandega High School?
I finished in 2007. High school. Okay. Then from there, I went to NAST, which is used to be called Polytechnic. Yes. I was doing engineering, simply because I couldn't find funding to study mathematics, but mathematics was something was always close to my heart. But I struggled a bit to find bursary to enable me to study mathematics, the course that I want. So I ended up studying engineering, and then I ended up also getting a scholarship from Petrofund. And during my course at the Polytechnic, and then I met Mr. Weston Malango, who was able to secure a funding for me to do a course in mathematics that is really close to my heart.
Okay. Yeah. Did you finish your studies at Polytech?
No, I didn't finish.
Okay, what happened afterwards?
Well, and then after 1 year at Polytechnic, then I just went to I went actually to Stellenbosch University, but unfortunately I couldn't, I was deregistered because of my English, speaking English and also writing English. Yeah. And then I came back to join University of Namibia. And then I did a Bachelor of Science and in Mathematics and Physics. And I was able to finish within 4 years. And I went back to Stellenbosch again to do my honors and masters in financial mathematics.
Financial mathematics, huh? Yeah. Okay. Engage me on the English part. What was the issue with they felt that your proficiency was not there, or is it part of the requirements for the university? What was the issue?
Yeah. Okay, well, I everything was set. I got registered. I attended classes, and after the classes, they gave us an assessment for English, and also the way I asked questions in the class, and maybe the lecturers found that I was a bit strange too. Yeah. And then they within the 3 weeks, the university international school office, they just decided now they have to send me back to Namibia.
Yeah. How did that make you feel? Because such a big breakthrough to go to Stellenbosch and then to be told, no, look, we can't continue with you.
It was devastating. I felt like I was hopeless. I felt like God was distant in my life. And it was very difficult coming back with Intercape from Cape Town to Namibia. Yeah. I think during that time I find that yes, it's an opportunity for me to recalibrate my life and redirect my life at UNAM again in the career of mathematics.
Yeah. Okay. Which years were you at UNAM? Around which years were those?
That was 2009 to 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What happened after UNAM?
Yes. After UNAM, I got an opportunity to study at Stellenbosch University. To do my honors. And
after Stellenbosch, that's what I meant to ask. What happened after Stellenbosch?
After Stellenbosch, I was sponsored by NAFISA to do financial mathematics. And then after Stellenbosch, I went back to NAFISA to work, but they didn't have an opportunity for me at NAFISA. So they wanted to turn me into an actuary while I have already an established career, which is financial mathematics. And then from there, I decided that I'm not going to go through the route of an actuarial science to be an actuary, but I would really want to be a quant, which means a quantitative analyst. So we had a little bit of a dispute between myself and Nafisa, and then Nafisa decided that they're going to, they also chased me out. I remember then 6 months I was just down, not having a job. So I used that opportunity to apply for scholarship opportunity to go and do my PhD. And I was fortunate enough to receive a funding from the Australian government. And I went to Sydney, Australia. And then I registered for the PhD in quantitative finance.
I see. What does quantitative finance mean, Professor?
Yeah. So, okay, quantitative finance, like it means, is quantitative. You are applying mathematical method to model financial phenomena. Financial phenomena, it means that are those types of risk or new behaviors of the financial market. And the behaviors can mean that because of the movement of interest rate, for instance, or the volatility in the financial market, or how people develop new models to model a particular scenario, there's a risk that can come from there. So now what we're trying to do as a quantitative finance, we're trying to develop up new techniques that can be used by banks and financial service sectors to manage or to mitigate, to minimize the financial risk that can come from the movement of, say, market underlying asset, or maybe saying, or you are applying the wrong models for a particular scenario. So that is, in a nutshell, what quantitative finance is all about.
I see. Sounds like Greek to me. It's really very difficult and complicated. But so does it mean, for example, that is it related at all to what the Bank of Namibia does, where you hear, for example, that things around inflation, interest rates, and the factors that are contributing to those? Is it in that space?
Yep, very much. And when I was in Sydney, Australia, I used to actually model or do internship with the Reserve Bank of Australia, and I also developed some of the models for interest rate model, especially in the transition of LIBOR transition, when new interest rate benchmark has now been adopted. So I was at the forefront of being able to assist the Reserve Bank of Australia to develop some of the mechanism for their interest rate benchmark transition. So also with the Bank of Namibia, for instance, I also have done a couple of presentations there, trying to present to them about some of the types of models that I do. And like I told you, I'm also much involved into Reserve Bank's types of research, and I'm collaborating currently with Reserve Bank of South Africa, some of to just make sure that there are models that they implement are adequate enough to manage the market risk or the financial risk that comes from, say, the behavior of interest rate, or maybe say how the repo rate is being determined. Those are types of surrounding sort of my research currently.
Okay. While at that, Professor, can you engage me on, I hope it's still within your domain. In Namibia, people are saying, look, the Namibian dollar being pegged to the South African rand, that it's like South Africa has a stranglehold on us, and that at one point we must free ourselves from that bond. And some economists are saying it would be foolhardy of us to do that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I of course I put a lot of thought in that subject, and I felt like, yes, look, Namibia should unpack from the South African rand. But from what I found is that Namibia market is very small, And if we unpack, there's a capital outflow between Namibia and so Namibia will suffer. So that's why the reason is that if South African Reserve Bank decided to say decrease the repo rate, Namibia has to follow suit in order to maintain the linking between the Namibian dollar and the South African. So Namibia is actually benefiting quite a lot from this linkage, but we probably have to make sure that the market is well developed for Namibia. The financial market is well developed.
Yeah.
So then only after that, then we can able to talk about delinking the Namibian dollar from the South African rand. It's part of something that I've really looked at from a mathematical point of view, and I came up to a conclusion that I think for me it's not a viable decision to make to delink the Namibian dollar from the South African peg.
Yeah. I mean, that is a lot of luminaries in your space are saying. I think it's a very pedestrian demand. This is the demand that is just made on sentiments, nationalism. That no, we are Namibians. We must. But but practically it sounds like a very dangerous proposition.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I mean, for now, so as long as the Namibia financial market is not yet mature, there are not even derivatives that are being traded. I mean, proper derivatives like options, for instance, are being traded, or even the contra. South Africa is still a mother country for Namibia. Meaning all the instruments are made and are developed. All the models are developed from the South African financial market. So Namibia financial market is still immature. So we need to make sure that we have a developed, sophisticated financial market first before we talk about being unpacked as Namibian dollar from the South African rand.
Yeah. How did countries like Botswana survive? I mean, the size of their economy is similar to ours. The pula is slightly stronger than the Namibian dollar. I get that. They, like us, do a lot of trading with South Africa, but somehow they managed to be on their own. I mean, what happened there?
Yeah, because like I said, Namibia is like South Africa is like a really mother country to Namibia. So that means everything Namibia is just copy paste of South Africa. So that's why if we want really to make sure that we are independent enough, we need to make sure that our financial market is well developed.
Yeah. We will go on a break. In fact, before we go on a break, I'll leave you with a question. You answer it after the break. And that question is, why? Because there's this thing called a brain drain, which is the emigration of skilled people from the country to another, which is the case also in your case, because we want our professors to be here. Is it because the country doesn't have opportunities? Is it because you are rejected? Is it because of your experience at places like Namfisa? But you will answer that when we come back from the break. We will be back shortly with Professor Mesias Alfeus. The conversation with Professor Mesias Alfeus of Stellenbosch University continues. He's a local man. He's a Namibian-born and bred man, as you heard from the first half of the show. And we ask him now, why South Africa?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to say, hey, look, I'm at Stellenbosch University, and I'm being treated well. I feel I'm at home in Stellenbosch, and I'll have to unpack it. I have to be honest. Why? Not getting opportunity in Namibia, and I tried UNAM, I tried NAST, but I tried the Bank of Namibia, for instance. I tried the DBN, for instance, but no one even calling you back to say, hey, look, your application was unsuccessful. It worries me why I would, for instance, in Australia, I'll apply for a position and then just get it or maybe get at least a response that your application was not successful. I can get a job at the University of Cape Town. I can get a job from University of Stellenbosch just by merit, but not because you know somebody in that particular university. What I came to conclude is in Namibia, you get a job based on who you know in that particular company or institution. And I would have loved to work in Namibia. I would have loved to plow back my skills to Namibia. I have Namibia close to my heart, but the problem is that I don't want to get a job via someone that I know at a particular institution. For instance, at UNAM, I know Gideon, for instance. I don't want to get a job through somebody that I know. I want to get a job in a particular institution by merit. And if that's not coming, then I would rather, like now, like I told you, I'm at Stellenbosch University. It's a lovely place. And my job that I'm doing, I feel utilized to my fullest capacity. So that's why I feel like, okay, well, several times, for instance, I applied to be like a special consultant for many of the financial institutions here. Say, for instance, Bank Windhoek say, no, we have a full financial risk management. We don't need your expertise. That was Bank Windhoek say. Capricorn, for instance, I emailed them several times. No one is responding to say, okay, well, maybe even just to say, look, we'll keep you on the loop. If there's something like the opportunity like this, then we can always call you, for instance, to apply my skill. Only a while ago, DBN at least called me to come and do a training for their credit risk department to know how to price the interest rate or credit derivative instrument, which I felt like it was a great opportunity for me to be able to plow back, to use my skill and give back to a country which is where I was born. So to conclude, I think it's because I found it very hard to get opportunity here. I don't want to get opportunity via somebody that I know. I want to get if I have to get an opportunity, I want to get an opportunity via merit.
Very good. So what you are saying is that the appetite is there for you to come and be based here and work here, maybe consult with the Stellenbosches and other universities, but you are fully employed here. That appetite is there.
It's there, but I mean, I want to get it by merit.
Yes. No, I understand. I understand. So typically, if you were to work at any of those institutions that you mentioned, what kind of job would that be? Of course, you mentioned risk management in I suppose disbursing loans and stuff like that. But typically, what kind of job would it be?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So okay. Well, at the academic institution, I teach. I do research. That's probably some of the things that are close to my heart. So I like to do research. And from financial institution, from the industry part, I like to do model validations and also construct up new models to model new market behaviors. I use a lot of stochastic models, that meaning models that depend on probability and the randomness behaviors in mathematical finance. And so in the industry, I'll probably be a quant, but at university, I'll probably be like an academic, full academic.
Do you think there is a good link between, is it will it be a seamless transition from being an academic into, for example, in the corporate world? Or would people say, oh, no, it's just academics, it's all theory, they will not survive in any environment like this?
And I think for me, it will be a smooth transition because I'm already quite heavily involved into industry in South Africa. Like I said, I'm a specialist consultant for First Rand Group. In that, my role is actually to make sure that all the models that the First Rand Group are developing, I go through the validations. So all the market risk technical, all the market risk models for first round. They have to give through me, then I have to check how the models was implemented, if it's best practice, or maybe if the model adhere to best practice, or maybe the implementation is right. I have to do that. And I'm also a board of director for the South Africa Institute for Financial Market, and there I just look at their governance and regulatory framework to make sure that this also adhere to the standard best market practice.
Very good. Here in Namibia, the national budget, when it's passed, is it a subject of interest to you? Do you monitor it? What are your views on the latest one?
No, I didn't follow it quietly because then we were busy with exams for my student, and I also had quite a lot of research activity I had to do recently, so I didn't follow the budget very carefully for Namibia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you think? So in your space, what I'm getting, and I hope my reading is correct, you sort of predict risks and like you predict the future events and how that can affect things like inflation and whatnot. Or I don't know those big terms, but how do you, like in Namibia, for example, now? There are predictions of economic growth. We need to invite investors here to invest here and create jobs, which will then lead to economic growth and whatnot. What are some of the routine dangers that the country faces? If what kind of predictions can you make? I know I'm putting you on the spot now.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Okay, well, part of my research that I do really quant finance research, and I also do some sort of financial econometric research. Financial econometric research is more on being able to come up with robust models to be able to predict particular scenario in futures. Like, okay, well, if you want to say predict the growth of Namibia, for instance, it's something that also within the sort of the spectrum of my research. So, the danger with Namibia is because they are using, even at the Reserve Bank of Namibia, at the Bank of Namibia, for instance, they are using, the models that they are using, they are not sophisticated enough to be able to manage the behavior, the risk behaviors that are facing the country, for instance. Okay, well, one time I've written an article that Namibia creates an advanced mathematical models in order to model the economy, but nobody is willing to listen to some of these neuroclassical economic models that can be adopted by the government, by the Reserve Bank, in order to rescue the country from all these sort of risks that come from. So, in my opinion, I feel like Namibia, they are using simple models to predict. This simple model are unable to capture the risk behavior that are facing investment portfolio for the government. So the Reserve Bank of Namibia, or the Bank of Namibia, is responsible to make sure that they manage the portfolio for the government, say bonds and so on. I think they need to use advanced mathematical finance model in order to be able to capture well the risk behaviors that are facing these portfolios.
I see. Do you have any? You guys in academic research, you always make some breakthroughs. You are the first one to do this, or you are part of the team that first made this discovery or whatever. Looking at your history, what are some of the projects or things that were involved that you are really, really proud of?
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think first of all, I work on the interest rate models in order to model the rollover risk. And the rollover risk is a risk that if your counterpart cannot able to roll over the borrowing, then you are faced with a risk that maybe the funding liquidity dry up, and also maybe you get downgraded, and then you're unable to roll over your borrowing. So, and this study has been received from the academic space, and I think it's well cited, and I feel like that was one of the breakthrough. And part of my research that I'm doing now is a South African fine wine to show, and I was one of the co-authors for the paper with my student. We were the first one to introduce the South African Fine Wine Index, and then we also show that this South African Fine Wine Index is actually a diversifiable index. Diversifiable means if you put this index in a portfolio that consists of well-performing assets, this wine index actually minimize the risk and also increase the expected growth rate. And I've been invited to many countries overseas to be able to present some of this research. The South African wine industry has been sponsoring my research, and then I'm also currently doing. We are currently working on some project with wine farms in South Africa to be able to create more robust index, and this index is now going to be traded on Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and this index is being updated every 3 months. And again, on top of that, whenever in the South African wine market, for instance, whenever the newspaper wants, say, an advice on South African fine wine, they always reach out to me for comments about this South African fine wine. The University of Stellenbosch, for instance, consider this kind of research on South African fine wine as innovative types of research that I have developed up. And so I'm very grateful for this type of study that I've done. And
No, wonderful. In closing, Professor, what are still your, when a luminary like yourself has achieved what you've done, what you have in the academic sphere and also in the research sphere, serving very important institutions in South Africa in particular. What do you still want to achieve? What are your goals still?
Yeah, so I don't consider myself as yet there. I feel like I'm still at the beginning of my career. I'm just 35 years. And so I feel like I still need to work very hard in order to continue doing my research, and also helping the young ones also to become future leaders in the space of my area for quantitative finance. Well, what I want to make sure that I embrace doing proper quality academic research, and also to make sure that I do teaching, I maintain a good quality teaching in the field. I'm a very big advocate of quantitative finance. That's why I want to make sure that, especially the developing countries, we embrace the area of quantitative finance, because now risk is becoming more and more important. And then we need to know how to apply advanced techniques that are able to manage or to be able to capture the financial risk. And we can only be able to capture the financial risk if we have an understanding of the financial mathematical models or the advanced quantitative finance. So what I want to do is to make sure that I embrace this area. Even in South Africa, currently I'm the director of the quantitative finance research program under the National Institute for Theoretical Computational Sciences. What my role there is actually to make sure that I promote quantitative finance in South Africa, because the South Africa Department of Science and Innovation, they realized that there is a need for quantitative finance in South Africa. So what they do is they give us funds, and for me, my role is to disseminate these funds around the universities that are doing quant finance research, and to make sure that we popularize quant finance in South Africa is well established, and also become an international leader in an emerging country.
Absolutely. Professor, thank you very much. You see, you've made, I did science in high school, and I passed it actually very well. But when I went to university, I pursued journalism. So today you made me feel like I'm back in the science class again. So thank you very much for your time and a very quality conversation.
No, thank you very much, Toivo, and I really appreciate for the opportunity to discuss with you, and also thanks for taking interest in my academic career. It's such a wonderful opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is Professor Mesias Alfeus of the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa, sharing with us his journey, his very inspiring journey. I hope, like myself, you have learned a thing or two. Thank you for watching.